How do you ever?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
And my name is James, and here we talk about all things Star Wars. But before we get started, we have some people to thank. David, take it away.
Yes, we want to thank our awesome Patreon supporters out there, starting with Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Makatao Tala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, Darth Beard, Indiana Solo, Mariana Atia Arnold, and Rusk Jedi 27. Thank you so much for your awesome love and support out there. Also, we want to mention that if you go to legionsabers.com, you can get 15% off when you buy your next lightsaber using the stuff code. So make sure you try and do that. There's their logo there, and those guys are really cool. We're actually going to be hanging out with them at MegaCon. So if you want to find the Star Wars Stuff podcast at MegaCon, we will most likely be at the Legion Sabers booth. So at Adam in the chat says James's beard is looking thick with two C's.
Thank you. They think? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. Actually, I was looking at it last night, and I was like, okay, I think now is the time to maybe get it trimmed. So I'm actually going to get it trimmed down a little bit before it gets a little too out of hand. But thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. And yeah, cool. This is Saturday. We haven't really podcasted on a Saturday in a very long time, but some news came out and we're going to talk about it. And let's oh, thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. He said it was a compliment. But so first thing that popped up was yesterday. We didn't get to podcast yesterday, but it's Sigourney Weaver's role. Well, I guess we should say Sigourney Weaver is going to be in Mandalorian and Grogu. I guess that's the first thing we got to kind of say. And we also know about her role. And this comes from Bespin Bulletin, whom we trust. And they are really great with the news and everything. So, yeah, David, take it away.
Yeah, when we've read stuff from Bespin, I don't think there's been, I can't recall of a single article that we reported on that hasn't been factual. So we've essentially just stuck with them because I mean they're pretty reliable. Apparently they have like really close sources. So yeah, so Sigourney Weaver, in the tradition of The Mandalorian, they bring in these stars that would have starred in Star Wars if it would have continued after 1983. And of course, Sigourney Weaver was a big star then. She's obviously still a big star with Avatar and Galaxy Quest.
Great movie, man.
Yeah, one of the great
movies.
Yeah, one of those rare movies that didn't do great at the box office, but did crazily well on home video, DVD, the like, and cable. I've actually never seen that movie all the way through. But,
what?
I've
Oh
seen
my
bits and
gosh!
pieces, because it's always been like on TBS or whatever, and I'll start
Oh.
watching it, and it's like, okay, it's cool. I know it has like a terrific cast, and
great cast, great story, great everything. Like that movie, I know we're supposed to be talking about Star Wars, but if you haven't seen Galaxy Quest, go watch Galaxy Quest. It's so good, in fact, that the Star Trek actors consider that one of the best Star Trek movies.
I just recently found that out, man. That is wild. And they wanted to do a sequel or a reunion, but of course, the great
when Alan Rickman passed
away, yeah. So not quite possible, but
anyways, back to Sigourney Weaver,
yeah, back to move away from Star Trek, back to Star Wars. Sigourney Weaver, that is a very current picture of her. So going to the article on Bespin Bulletin, details on Sigourney Weaver's character in Star Wars, The Mandalorian Grogu revealed. Reports and leaks on the next theatrical Star Wars release have been coming fast in recent weeks. And today, details on Sigourney Weaver's character have been revealed via a reliable journalist and insider. So this is via the insider, Jeff Snyder. So also Jeff Snyder, he's pretty reliable too, but I totally trust this info. So minor spoilers for The Mandalorian Grogu. You're going to find out what side she's on, her character name, and maybe a little bit more. So according to Jeff Snyder, the journalists that first broke that Sigourney Weaver had been cast in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Weaver's character is only in a few scenes in the flick, and she is a colonel of the New Republic, and her character's name is a direct reference to her hit movie Aliens. Her name is Bishop, which is a really nice nod. And they say, I can confirm what Snyder has heard, and that I've heard this from more than one source. I don't have a ton of information to add to the story other than the love. Then she loves to play Sabak, which is kind of
Oh,
interesting.
wow.
It's worthless information, I know, but I don't agree with that. But that's all I got for the character, who has little screen time in the movie, according to the leaks here. Leaks aplenty recently in a galaxy far, far away, especially for the Mandalorian Grogu. But the writer says, I guess that's what happens when a film is wrapped and isn't due to release for another 15 months, which is kind of
Gosh.
wild. I personally been holding back on plot-related tidbits due to how far out the release is, but I'm sure that everything will be out there soon enough. With the way things are going, The Mandalorian Grogu is due to release on May 22nd, 2026, more than a year away, 15 months, and is directed by Jon Favreau, the creator of the Disney Plus hit series The Mandalorian. Favreau co-wrote the effort alongside Dave Filoni, who's currently preparing to shoot Ahsoka Season 2 in the United Kingdom. The Mandalorian and Grogu will be the first Star Wars movie to release in theaters in 7 years,
That's wild.
following 2019 Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So there you go. That's the info we got currently. It seems like there's other information out there that has been leaked. It just hasn't been reported on yet because of the length of time, 15 months until we get the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw Sigourney Weaver, for whatever reason, as being on the Empire side, like part of the Imperial remnant. Didn't
That
you?
works.
Yeah. I didn't really see her as a good guy, so to speak, but
Well, I think she's maybe at that age where she wants to play roles that, her kids and grandkids can watch her on. You know what I mean? Like, because she's played some villains. She's actually played not villains, but she's played some pretty dark characters, and some of the movies she's been in are very the rated R movies and very intense films. So I think maybe she's like, I want to do something that everybody can watch, which is why she was in Avatar and the second Avatar, which she was amazing in the second Avatar. She played the
yeah,
daughter.
yeah,
She was incredible,
it's
and
wild.
so yeah, I'm with you there, but then at the same time, I get why she would probably want to go to a more a good person role. Um, so yeah, she's gonna be like Laura Dern in The Last Jedi. She's just gonna be a character that we're just gonna have to accept and then just go with. Hopefully nobody gets mad at her for being in the movie. For
I don't
Laura
think they
Dern,
will.
everybody was like, "Why is she in here? Who was she before this?" And it was like, "It's fine. The people
Yeah.
come up." And so it's interesting about what's interesting about this movie is, yeah, we're gonna get Sigourney Weaver. It's gonna be in the New Republic, and it's during the era between episode 6 and 7, which now is the question: are we gonna get a digital deep faked, if you may, Leia? Is Leia also gonna show up in this movie if we're gonna be doing New Republic stuff? What do you think?
I would lean towards that, just due to the fact that they have to. You would think they'd have to give us something new because
Mhm.
we're getting Mando, we're getting Grogu, we've seen them before. We're getting bounty hunters, we've seen that before. There has to be some level of we've never seen that before in a Star Wars film, or we haven't seen yeah, essentially that Leia at this certain point in time on screen. We know they got the technology. We absolutely know they have the deep fake technology to use, like what they did on Luke in the Book of Boba Fett series, where it just looked perfect
Yeah.
until he started to run and jump. It was hard to get that tracking done, but maybe they've worked on that, and maybe they've perfected that too. I
Yeah.
mean, you never know, but I mean, there has to be some element in this film that's going to draw the people out more so than the fact that you have Baby Yoda and Mando in their first film. I think, um, and they could be using this movie almost like like a test bed for the future films and Filoni's future Avengers ensemble film, which I hope that's what they're planning on, and I hope we get just a crazy Endgame like sequence at the end of that film, and it's like
it
everyone that we know in the galaxy that's alive still
it makes
shows up
sense to do that.
and goes up against Thrawn and finally annihilates him.
Before we go on, Liam McCallion is on YouTube, and hey guys, just got home from getting tacos. Hope you're well, which is a very cool
What
thing to say. Thank you very much.
what type of tacos, Liam? I'm kind of curious because
That's a good question.
I know that he is overseas. I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, I want to know what kind of tacos you. Yeah, but yeah, I think Sigourney Weaver being in Star Wars makes sense, and if I'm not mistaken, we were gonna get Jamie Lee Curtis in season 3 of Mando, but was it cut or she said it didn't work? One of the two. That do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that pretty clearly. She was there on set. That's how we knew she was going to be in the series. But of course, I think she was just there for maybe fittings and maybe some line reads, but they
Oh, okay.
totally cut her out. But yeah, and that was also kind of another bummer and another like 80s type casting that they did along with Michael Biehn there.
Which was, I wish he had more. I mean, he was great. I mean, Michael Biehn is, a great actor. I just wish he would have been in there more. And yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis would have been awesome to see in Mando because she's also amazing. Who else have we not seen from the 80s who was big who were big in the 80s who could have been in Star Wars? Like who's next? I mean, Sigourney
Sylvester
Weaver is
Stallone.
like high on that list. Sylvester Stallone would be very
Arnold
interesting.
Schwarzenegger.
God, that would be those two are that's a little too distracting, I think.
Yeah.
If you had
Yeah.
them in there, that'd be a little too
Jean-Claude
much.
Van Damme.
There we go. That's the one. But yeah, I was just curious as to who else could be in there, from the
Linda Hamilton.
80s. That would be really cool if Linda Hamilton was in. Actually, that would be right up there with Sigourney Weaver being in Star Wars. Like what I mean? Like if Linda Hamilton showed up, that would be also just the absolute best. Oh, Colin's here. Hello, Colin.
Speaking of showing up.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was going through and I saw what was going on. I was like, wow, thanks for the invite. But yeah, no, Sigourney Weaver's character, I think if I were to have one other like big actor in there, I assume we're talking about like our kind of dream kind of actor and actresses to join, right?
No.
Yeah, from the
we're just
who would have
talking
been
about like in the 80s, like who else is left, because they've had like Michael Biehn, Jamie Lee Curtis was on set, and of course now Sigourney Weaver's being added.
Short round. Yeah.
Kiwi Kwan.
Yeah, man.
That would work.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing Marvel.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe how good of an actor he was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like, how did this guy not get a job up until then back in Hollywood?
That was just the craziest thing to see his performance in that movie. And yeah, I think the same thing. Like, dude, why was nobody hiring him all these years? Because he's just but yeah, him being Star Wars would work, and plus he's already friends with Kathleen Kennedy and everybody for being in Temple of Doom. And oh, by the way, Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall, and Steven Spielberg make a cameo in the movie of Temple of Doom. But you can't even see them, but you just see 3 people dressed the same at the airport, and it's like that's them. But
yes, that's the scene with Dan. Yeah, as the I remember that. Yeah, no,
hey, there's another actor.
Yeah,
being Mando.
I always thought it was a missed opportunity for them not to have Short Round in Dial of Destiny. That was such a missed opportunity. Such a missed opportunity because of you barely even had Karen Allen come in. She came in at the end, and I actually had the opportunity of meeting her over at a convention in in Detroit last year. And we talked to her of, I told her, hey, I was watching the movie. I was waiting for you to show up. And when you finally did, I was really excited, but I was questioning it. Why? Because I was like, because you're such an amazing actress and you are a huge part of, Indiana Jones. And then she was like, thank you. I had to fight the studio to actually get me into the movie. So she wasn't even part of the original script. And we talked about that for 10 minutes. And my wife was just standing there and was like, okay, Colin, like we got to go. But yeah, so,
It's so cool. That you get to talk
so
that's wild though.
Yeah.
You're right. She is a big part of, and thanks to Marsha Lucas, she got that the ending there at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is like, how did y'all not think about that? Which is why I think Marsha Lucas should have been involved with a lot of other Star Wars things, and other things. But anyways, but yeah, so I'm excited to see Sigourney Weaver, even if it's for a small part, in Star Wars or Mandalorian and Grogu. I think it's still going to be really exciting to see her in Star Wars now. So that's great news. And the fact that her name is Bishop, I mean, is that a little too on the nose, or what's y'all's opinion about that? Is that a little too much?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bishop is such a ubiquitous word. So I mean, it can mean different things, like a piece on a chessboard or an actual like religious type of meaning. But I don't think it's too distracting because I don't think Bishop is the first person you think of when you think of the whole Alien franchise.
But if you have Sigourney Weaver and then something Bishop related, your brain automatically goes
so much
to
time
Aliens.
has passed too, so it's like
that movie's still awesome though, man. Aliens.
Yeah, I'm not saying it isn't, but I mean,
one of the coolest sequels.
I mean, how many years has it been?
What was that? 1980.
So almost 50. I measure everything with 1977 in Star
Wars. That's great. Yeah, so Sigourney Weaver is going to be in Star Wars New Republic, and she'll be playing a character named Bishop. So that's exciting. Noah is in the house. How we doing, boys? How y'all feeling about Skeleton Crew finale now that we're a few days removed? I still love it. I was on Disney Plus yesterday watching Alien Romulus. I don't know why that's on there, but
really? It's on there.
It's on. Yeah, if you go to Disney Plus and
right. I mean, do you have the Hulu thing? Because if you got Hulu now, they have a bunch of the different stuff. Because if you have normal Disney Plus, it shouldn't be on there.
Oh yeah, but I guess so. But anyways, I was I went on there because I was looking for Alien Romulus, and the number one watched show right now is Skeleton Crew. It's number one of the week, which means they did what we said they were going to do. People waited until the whole show aired, and now everyone's binge watching it, which that's great. But I don't think Disney looks at that. They just look to see who's watching week to week. And if no one's watching week to week, they're going to cancel it. Acolyte went to number one after it all aired because everybody wanted to watch and binge watch it instead of watching it week to week. So now that back to Noah's question, I think I still really love the show a couple of days removed. I still think Skeleton Crew was a lot of fun. It was a hell of an adventure, and it felt great. It felt fun to watch it. You know what I mean? What about y'all? What's y'all's thoughts about Skeleton Crew a few days, out?
I thought it was really good. I just keep on thinking about the fact that we shouldn't have got this yet, because there's so many other things they should be doing, But yeah, it was really good. The kid actors were terrific. I thought the plot was really good. There was enough. I mean, I really love the connective tissue. A lot of people complain about it, but I really love it when they can actually connect certain facts and events and people to these series without kind of advertising it. And they kind of sort of did that with like the At-Atten being kind of the Fort Knox of the Republic, so to speak. And people have tried to poke holes in the whole story, and there are pretty good arguments for what actually took place in the story. But overall, yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. I just wish there was more connectivity, like maybe like a stinger at the end, like saying, this was actually financed for a future project for the Empire in case of Palpatine's unfortunate early demise. So that's kind of what I was thinking, that there was going to be some like connection going back to the reasoning why AT-AT really kind of existed, and that was kind of my whole feeling.
You know what would have been really cool? I'm sorry, one more thing, Colin. What would have been really cool is if we had like not a post credit, but like something. We just fade to black, and then now we're in space. You see TIE fighters flying toward like a Star Destroyer, and we're like, oh, and what is this? And then you see the fleet, the First Order fleet starting to get created. And then was it Richard E. Grant is like in charge of that, and he's the one who is like keeping tabs of all the money coming in, just to tie it into the First Order, and then to make his character make more sense in The Rise of Skywalker, and to be like him saying like, the Emperor's, money is missing, and like, I don't know, that would have just made everybody go, oh, it's connect. You know what I mean? I think that would have been
right.
Really cool.
And see, I think that's the thing. It was like we were led on to believe that yes, this was going to connect to something, and then we really didn't get that. I think I was kind of expecting that little connective piece. Didn't have to be anything big, but just like a little like, this is why this happened, and like I would have been like, okay, that makes the series kind of complete for me. I'm all in for Elseworld, outside of canon stuff. I'm all for that. But if you tell us one thing, like, oh, Vane's gonna be in there because he's part of the Mando series, and that like demarcates when this takes place, it's like, okay, well, they're connecting it. There needs to be something a little bit more kind of connecting the overall new information we learned, and that was kind of my point.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I thought the series was great. I think the ending was more of just a lot of hype built up in my head. And, I was saying, and I said this on our post show that we did, but it was more of like, why wasn't Carson Teva or Zeb there? Why, like, that would have been the perfect opportunity, but that wouldn't have felt forced though. Like, think about it. Zeb is training new Republic pilots. Carson Teva is always there for like the big stuff. He's like the Phil Coulson of the Mandoverse right now. Why not have him show up and be like, hey, we like heard there was this threat going on, and then they investigate and talk to the kids. My theory is that they'll save that for a moment in the Mandalorian and Grogu film, of where they're like, the remnants of the Empire has a lot of new technology and fighters and stuff. How are they getting the funds? And then Carson Teva can be like, well, a year or so back, like, we found this this planet that's been hidden for a very long time, and they have lots of credits on there. Let's go investigate that. And then Mando and Grogu and some of the New Republic go over there to Atten. They investigate and they talk to the kids, and that's how you tie it in and be like, well, a couple of weeks back, 2 vaults were, broken into, and they could be like, okay, that makes sense. So that way they could tie it in. I don't think Dave Filoni is just going to add something just to add something, because he oversaw this project. So I don't think that, something in this. I mean, just
he was a
knowing.
Producer. And they see, because I think Skeleton Crew was all about Chris Ford and John Watts creating this and trying to be. It was almost like they were trying to do their own thing in a sense. Yeah. And I think Filoni was just there to be like, okay, it's okay if we do this. He was like de facto story group. But I'm pretty sure Carson Teva is going to be in the Mandalorian Grogu, and because he's so close with him and Favreau, and he's like almost like their good luck charm in a way. Yeah.
I would just be shocked if they didn't have some type of tie-in with Skeleton Crew. Like, I mean, because now the planet's been introduced to the outside world. They've dealt with pirates. They've had the New Republic come in. My big question is, what the heck are they going to do with all those credits? That was my biggest question afterwards, because they had 130 something vaults with, probably almost over like $1 trillion credits or something like that. I think someone was saying in our
someone did the math out there.
Like
9.71 trillion or something.
Yeah, so it's it's just like, what's going to happen with all those credits? There's no way that the New Republic's going to be like, you guys are fine on your own, because there will just be another pirate attack. Like, their defense system is down. They could easily activate it, but everyone's going to know it's there now. Like, people aren't just quiet. Like, people are who like probably new Republic pilots. The pirates will go back and leave and be like, "Hey, I saw this." So that's always going to be there. What's going to happen with it is the question. And I think that we'll get something like that in the Mandalorian and Grogu, because the skeleton crew was it was perceived in such a great way. It would be a very missed opportunity if they didn't go back to that planet and see the kids.
I don't think any pirates are going to try to go to At-Atten after what happened, because Jod had the opportunity to shoot and kill them, but then once the Republic shows up, it's over. He knows there's no way he's getting out of that. There's no way the New Republic is going to let him leave, and he throws the gun down because he's like, that's it. So, yeah, I am interested to see what the New Republic is going to do with all those credits now. Because, where does it go? Does it fund all the ships we see in some of the ships we see in? Or does the New Republic take it all to build up their force and everything, and then that leads to
but that doesn't make sense,
being very confident in themselves, and then whenever Leia Organa is over here saying, "Hey, the First Order is on the rise," and they're like, "No, we're good. We're totally set."
Well, I feel like if the New Republic was to take over that money, to me, it would be like, okay, then they definitely had enough. They had enough revenue to hire the manpower, get special technology to they could have easily beaten the First Order with more money. And I know we're getting into the politics of Star Wars, but it's just like the First Order, the First Order definitely had more. More of everything. They had more funding. That was very clear from the sequel movies that the First Order was definitely on top, and the Resistance and the New Republic didn't really stand a chance because they were on the fence, just like in the Harry Potter movies of where they were just like, Voldemort's not coming back, no way, until something big happened. And sure enough, it took 6 or 7 planets to blow up for them to actually realize that they were truly really really back. So it's all about the funding, man. So they have this whole plot now with this planet full of vaults full of credits. What's going to happen with it? They've got to make it make sense. The First Order getting their hands on it more and more secretly or in some way, it definitely makes sense if they were to do that.
Yeah, the thing that jumps out to me is the fact that it's like 3.71 trillion credits or whatever. You can't just add that into the existing economy, because you just basically destabilize it. I mean, that would be crazy. That stuff would I'm not no economics major, but I know it would totally destabilize it. So what I kind of see is that the New Republic, okay, they know about it, they find out about it. They either just make it a military base and just kind of be hush hush about it and keep it a secret essentially, and just leave the credits there until they maybe need them. And then of course we all know it all leads to the First Order, which raises a question. I'm not sure on this. Maybe James can answer because you've read a lot of the books. Does the New Republic essentially become the First Order, or does the First Order kind of come up of out of the ground?
The First Order comes from out of the ground.
Okay.
So somehow they're being funded, which all our predictions were that these planets were the ones that were funding.
So somehow the First Order possibly takes that from the New Republic. And
General
then
Hux's
the General
dad
Public is just like, where did all this money come from? Oh my God, the First Order is just heavily financed. Oh my God, maybe that's the only situation that I can see.
So General Hux's dad and just the Hux family do come from money, and they actually had a big part to play with the First Order Stormtrooper program, and that was what we were seeing and the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, when they had where Moff Gideon was there, and then they had the different old Imperial officers and stuff like that. Hux's dad was there, and they were, after the Battle of Jakku, there's a bunch of people that went into hiding. And basically, over the years of what we see with the Empire, they just pretty much slowly form into the First Order. And later on, when Snoke comes into power, and then Snoke dies, but it turns out it was the Emperor the entire time because he put his Force ensigns into Snoke. Basically, it's the Empire. The Empire and the First Order are pretty much the same thing, just with a different name. It's just like because Palpatine wanted the galaxy to believe he was really dead. So it's all about that funding. My guess is that, because the big droid, the supervisor, voiced by Stephen Fry, did say the last message that we received was that the Jedi were traitors. So that puts some things into perspective, as in like timeline wise and stuff going on with the planet. So my question is, who created Atten? Who was really behind it? Was it Palpatine? And then this was like his secret fund that he's been, holding off to? Was this going to be something explored in Acolyte Season 2 of where Plagueis was like, hey, check out this? Like, there's just so many questions I feel that were raised more than the answers that we got in the end. We kind of learned Jod's background. Were the kids going to make it home and everything be okay? Yes, but we don't know really anything about the true history of the planet. We don't know about these experimental societies. We don't even know who created them. And I think that those are some of the biggest questions, and I hope we don't get that in a book. And sometimes we just get that a lot. It's just, because for example, for a while there, we didn't know how Emperor Palpatine, came to be. We don't know about his fleet or anything in Exegol. Somehow Palpatine returned. And then we got this comic book, this Darth Vader comic book that, explained on how Darth Vader went to Exegol, discovered, what Palpatine was doing with all of these Star Destroyers underneath the ice. And then, after they had their fight, Darth Vader was like, okay, whatever. So that created another plot hole. So I don't know. I just hope that we don't get the answer to what we want to know in a book. I hope we get it, on screen. Because it just raised more questions. But
yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want these answers in a book. Even though what was the name of that book? It was Lando and Luke Skywalker were the leads on that book. And you also get moments with Palpatine's clone being, escaping, and then him having, being married and having a wife and having Rey. And then so that was in a book, and it was really good. Shadows of the Sith. Yeah, it was really good. And like Colin said, it was like, that was cool, but it would have been really better if we saw that like in a movie or a story of some kind, because I was like, oh man. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Is Noah says, is anyone else glad that Jod wasn't a survivor of Order 66? It feels like that well is starting to run dry.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember that was our first prediction as to who Jod was. But I agree about the whole Order 66 thing, because
and this is going to sound cliche because I always say it, but I think what Jod is saying is true from a certain point of view, just because of we know he talked about a Jedi saved him and then started to, like, basically from my understanding was that a Jedi saved him, and then like during the beginning of the training process, she was gunned down. And then he was on the run. So that could mean, that it was right at the end of the Clone Wars, and then she got shot, or she was in the run. She found him, and then they discovered her, and then they and then they shot her. So we don't know exactly where in the timeline if Jod was, her apprentice, or he was found after Order 66 and she was in the run, and then she got shot down because she was hunted down. So, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get this this answer in a book. But speaking
Yeah.
of Jod's master, I know we're gonna skip ahead, but since we're on that subject, David, you want to take it away with that news?
I was actually going to talk about Neil's species.
Oh, okay. I thought we would
Um,
do the other one, then do that. But yeah, let's do Neel. Let's do Neel species then. Yeah.
I was saving that for the end, James.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So Neel, of course, we all saw the trailer in London, and of course, we all jumped to conclusions and thought he was an Ortolan. But yeah, he is not. We figured that out. That's like a super blurry picture, but yeah, there's a shot of him with his mouth open.
It's such a wasted opportunity. I'm still bummed about it, and I don't like how they were like, well, we were inspired by Max Rebo's species, but we didn't do it. I'm like, then why not make him a different color? Because from one of my sources, Neel was actually supposed to be green, and then they were like, no, we'll stick to blue, and I'm just like, well, that's so. Come on. I mean, the Max Rebo species is right there. You make a species that's very similar to Max. Why not just do it? And I know they're jumping from the whole 2-leg thing to 4-arm thing, but you can't tell me that they are indecisive, because in the Lego Star Wars game, he's got 4 legs. There's a bunch of toys. Pretty much all of his toys are 4 legs. And then you have a couple of books and comics that have him, just have 2. So just like, make up your mind, like, just go out and say it, like, just go on the record. So I don't know, I just think him being blue and not being an Ortolan was just a wasted opportunity, kind of a smack in the face to all fans of Max Rebo, in my opinion. But yeah, so I don't know. Yes, me.
Just
but
you, yeah.
All of my hashtag 4-limb believers out there. Yeah, I'm just, come on.
But we do have some news. And what is it, David?
Well, I wanted to add there that the creators of Skeleton Crew, Watts and Ford, did say in an interview that yes, they were aiming for Neel to be an Ortolan, but the technicalities of wearing the actual Ortolan prosthetic came into play for the young actor, and of course they had to shorten his trunk. They had to give him holes in the trunk to actually breathe, I guess. I think that's a little important. Yeah. So then they kind of changed it all up, and it started to resemble the character from Captain EO, and then that bred all kinds of new rumors or whatever. But yeah, they probably should have changed the skin color.
Yeah,
because
wasted.
Yeah, and they've actually done the same thing again. They've made that same kind of weird correlation to another existing species out there in Star Wars. So there's an article on Collider here that I'm going to read. It's really short. It's entitled, "We Finally Officially Know What Species Neel Is in Star Wars Skeleton Crew. The first season of Star Wars Skeleton Crew is officially over, and one of the greatest gifts the show delivers to Star Wars fans is Neel, played by Robert Timothy Smith. Not only just an adorable creature who can rival even Grogu with his cuteness, Smith's performance bringing Neel to life elevated the character into being one of the most lovable new creations Star Wars has delivered, not only in the Disney Plus era, but ever. Similar to Grogu and Yoda, Neel's species was unknown to the fan base, but during a recent interview with Collider's Maggie Lovett, Skeleton Crew creators John Watts and Christopher Ford spilled the beans. While initially going back and forth and declining to drop the bomb during the interview, not wanting to get anybody in trouble, Ford revealed after the interview that Skeleton Crew's Neel and his adorable family are part of the Mickean species. Sorry to everyone who was holding out hope that he had any relation to Max Rebo shared more than just their incredible levels of swagger. Neel shines throughout the series, but it's the full child ensemble who deliver on the level that child actors rarely do that made Skeleton Crew one of the best Star Wars projects to date. There's a little bit of all of us in Wim, played by Ravi Cabot Conyers, who was incredibly intrigued by the Jedi and obviously interested in becoming one himself. Although the series declines to lift the veil and reveal whether or not he's Force sensitive, Fern, played by Ryan Kira Armstrong, often finds herself in a leadership position. And while she was in no trouble leading the group for the betterment of their season, she's clearly doubting if she has the strength to be the figure the group needs. KB, played by Kiriana Crater, is also immensely relatable, as we've all gone to extreme lengths to try and please our friends. So I'm glad. I think that's the first time we actually read out all the actors' names for Skeleton Crew. I just kind of wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But there's also another species, I believe, in the comics that share the same name, Mickean. It's just spelled a little different from what Ford and Watts did. So
Could have
there's
been
even more
Nordland.
confusion there. So it's like, did they not contact the story group on this? Was maybe the story group missed this? I don't know. It's rather strange.
I am in the weird boat here, I guess, that I'm okay he wasn't the same species as Max Rebo. I think it works because here's my thing. If they would have just done that, everyone would have complained, "Oh, Star Wars is unoriginal. Why can't you just create a new species?" Because people always complain about that. So
Yeah,
you
but
create a species that kind of looks like it. Yeah, kind of. But and the more I look at Neel, the more I'm like, it's really not. There's really not much there with how he looks versus how Max Rebo looks. Max Rebo has a very long nose and like all this other stuff. And yeah, no, it's just very similar, but not 100% similar.
I
And
am
I'm okay with him not being the same species, and I think it works that he's not.
it is not that I'm not okay with it. It's more of I think they were in the full process, right? They were in the full process, getting ready, having the mindset it was going to be a Ortolan. And then when they were like, hey, actually, it's going to be too hard for the actor to do this. They had to change the creature slightly, but they didn't want to change it entirely because they thought that cuteness would kind of go away in a sense if they changed. So instead of creating a whole different species, they created something very similar. And I think to me, that's just I don't know. It's not lazy writing. It's more just like you had Ortolan right there. And the fact that it didn't even change the color was more disappointing to me because of you've also got this whole debacle, which I could go on and on about this. And I know I can, sense that James is rolling his eyes inside, but it's just you really just come out and say if Max Rebo's got 4 limbs or 2 limbs. Like, just say it. Like, honestly. It's not that, like, I just don't get why they're playing it so close to the chest. I just don't understand why. It just blows my mind, and it's just been a going on debate with me and a couple of my friends for a very long time. And I as much as I love doing it, I just want an answer. And people are like, well, Phil Tippett and all this, and it's like, I get it, I understand, but also, why can't Lucasfilm just fully out say it? Why can't they just fully confirm to the audience? Explain this, like, just say it.
Well, I think it kind of has been explained, but I mean, it's not like they've been definitive on it. I mean, originally designed. I mean, it's so weird because he was designed with 2 limbs. Then you see him in front of the Jedi. Those clearly look like arms.
Yes,
it doesn't look like legs. He's not like this, like his maquette is. He's like this, playing the piano. So it looks like arms. It looks like he has something below. And then, of course, Kenner was given the rights to do the action figures. They asked, hey, what does the rest of Max Rebo look like? Lucasfilm didn't respond, so they said, well, we'll put legs on them.
Right.
So that's why we have the Kenner toys with the legs. So
yeah, and we've been jumping back and forth for years, and it's just like, just come out and say it. Just say either he's got 4 limbs or 2. Like, I don't know why they keep, and I also didn't like how when Neel showed up, it took them a while to say he's not an Ortolan. I was like, why are you playing and toying with people's emotions? Just say it. Like, why are you doing that? Like, I don't know. I mean,
well, I don't think a lot of people really are too invested in that.
I am, David.
I know you are, but I mean, I don't think anyone was really kind of like wanting to know for sure or anything. But it's like a funny like sub thing in Star Wars to kind of discuss and talk about because it's a lot of people within Star Wars have talked about that and have tried to figure out what's going on. But I mean, I think with the advent of Neel and the Mickeans, there is now this like elephantine species in and subgroup in Star Wars. Maybe we'll see another kind of
Yeah.
species that looks a lot like elephants, essentially, in Star Wars, which I think is kind of cool that they're kind of adding to it. But yeah, I know your sentiment. We were all kind of like freaking out in London when we saw Neel on screen for the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
So the big news that I discovered this morning, and I talked to James this morning, and I was like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" He was like, "No," but yes, the answer is yes. The scenes for Jod's backstory were going to happen, and there was an actress cast, and she has now officially revealed her costume, her whole look, everything with lightsaber choreography. So we were supposed to get that in Skeleton Crew, but they cut it out for whatever reason. I'm not sure if we're ever going to find out what reason that is, but I have some pictures here that I pulled off of the internet that I'll show you here. And this is what the actress looks like as Jod's master. She's a Middle Eastern actress named Yasmin Al Masri, and of course she confirmed via her Instagram that she recorded scene as Jedi for Skeleton Crew, but didn't make the final cut. So there she is. Here's a close up of her, and here's a costume fitting. You can see clothespins in there. Yeah.
What is the thing that says the Jedi thing? Like, do you see in the top left?
Yeah. I think that's just the tag, just letting people.
I think it says Rogue Jedi. I think that's just the
Rogue Jedi
costume design like test for her.
And as you notice there, she has a Padawan braid.
And she has is that her lightsaber on the couch there behind her?
Yes, that is her lightsaber on the couch. If you go to her Instagram, I'll pull it up here on my phone. It's at JAZMASRI, and she is verified. She has a full-on video of her sparring as a Jedi, and you can see her hilt very clearly. So yeah, check that out. But the caption on her post, and this is from the actress that was going to play Jod's master. This was the shortest acting job I have done, but the most meaningful to the child in me. Playing a Jedi for one scene in Skeleton Crew. I gave a speech when the crew wrapped me on set saying, "You just created the first Arab female Jedi. Thank you." The scene unfortunately didn't make it to the final cut because these things happen. But I cannot share my experience and feelings. But I cannot not share my experience and feelings. Even Liam, I believe her son, rehearsed that scene with me, and I got to brag about it with my friends, which got me the coolest mom respect for a moment.
That's cool.
So,
that's so cool. And
that's an incredible thing, man. I mean, they had it all lined up. It just goes, it just gets filed the long line of scenes that we almost had along with like Vader and Luke in The Force Awakens and just stuff like that. And it's like, man,
we're never going to see.
Cool. And that's another piece of like connective tissue. Like, hey, look, instead of telling us, show us. You had the actress there. You fitted her.
Yeah.
Put it in the volume. I mean, come on.
So something I could see them doing is, for two things for me is it might have been a pacing issue. Like of just kind of taking them out, but also it's just like I could see Jod just kind of narrating over that scene, like of while he was, explaining to women them, of being like, this happened to me. I could definitely see him doing that. Number two, my guess is, she kind of pulled like a Ryan Reynolds here. I mean, she probably got permission, but like because of like she, has voiced, this, and if this gets enough traction, I could see them showing this deleted scene on the 4K Blu-ray that will eventually come out. Just because it would just be weird to have this and not show it.
But
in my opinion,
Colin, there's a lot of things Star Wars has shot that they haven't showed us yet. Like,
oh yeah, no,
I know they shot. We know they did it, and I have a feeling we probably will never see this footage. Or if we do, it's going to be put in like season 2 when Jod is being questioned by somebody, and then they show that flashback. but I'm a little nervous that it's gonna maybe stay hidden for forever. And as David says, she has a Padawan braid, which makes me think, and I think Colin and David would agree, is she was maybe a part of Order 66. She did escape. She was in hiding, and when she found Jod and everything
Yeah.
happened, that she was probably taken out by an Inquisitor, is what I'm thinking, or something Inquisitor related is what was her downfall, or that's
Yeah.
weird to say, but her
Yeah.
demise. Um, but yeah, I think it's really cool, and it's one of those things. Like as he was giving that speech, in the back of my mind, I think everyone else will agree. You're kind of like, oh man, that'd be really cool if we could see that. And then of course now we know it
Yeah.
was there. It was shot. It was all edited. It was supposed to go in there. But they don't want to make this episode longer than 45 minutes. So they had to cut something. Something had to
Yeah.
go. And they were like, I think this is the spot that has to go. Neel in the bathtub, let's
Ugh.
keep it. But
Yeah, twice.
Bathtub.
Yeah. Neel was in the bathroom twice in this, and just think how hard it was to film that just because this is like a prosthetic costume. And we're
Yeah.
getting Neel
How
in the water.
filthy do Mickeans get? I mean, come on.
apparently very filthy if they have to take full-on baths all the time.
That's wild.
But yeah, it is interesting. And you heard it here. They had the footage. They were going to show it, didn't show it, cut it out. Whether we see it or not, that's left up to the powers that be at Lucasfilm right now, because I'm actually sadly leaning towards we're never going to see that footage. Almost like the Vader Luke Skywalker Force Awakens shot.
Yeah.
We're never going to see that ever.
I mean, this year marks the 10th anniversary. I mean, they could be like, I doubt it, but like it's a pipe dream. But it could be like, here's some never before seen stuff that was used that we never used for Force Awakens.
And that's so cool. That is so cool. They've never done that. I mean, like, I want them to do that. The last time they did that,
it was a pipe dream, but yeah.
The last time they did that, and George Lucas was like, "Oh, by the way, here are some scenes that we had to cut out of episode 1 that we can now put in here for the DVD release," and it was so cool. It was so awesome
yeah,
did that.
I don't think it was funny about the prequel stuff because of all of the deleted scenes. Most of them were fully out, like finished in production, and then they were just there. Like, have you seen the extended pod racer stuff? All that stuff is animated and finished. All of the they have a full action scene of Jar Jar Binks swimming over to the thing while the ship is falling off the ledge. That's fully animated. And then they have a bunch of stuff from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith where those deleted scenes are like fully through. They had a whole action scene in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith that involved Shakti. And that was fully animated. Them like going through like underneath the ship and the underwater thing. That was
almost done. The water was almost done.
Yeah, right. It's still interesting though to be like, that they did all that, because it showed like George Lucas was like, the studio might have not let me do this, but I'm gonna, show you what it could have been. Instead, you got Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. We really didn't get any deleted scenes. I think the big one that sticks with me from The Last Jedi is the one where it's Tom Hardy as a stormtrooper. They had that conversation in the elevator. But like other than that, like we didn't get anything major. And I think the Force Awakens one with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, that would have been sick. That would have been an awesome scene to see from Rey's perspective. That would have been incredible.
But what's crazy about that scene and about other deleted scenes, like in The Last Jedi, we saw a few deleted scenes. Some of them were like really good deleted scenes too.
Yeah.
And then even Force Awakens, some of those scenes where we found out that Leia was actually supposed to be kind of in the first 20 or 15 minutes of the movie. But then you get to that scene of Vader and Luke, and they were like, "We're not going to show you. This is never going to see the light of day. But we'll show you these other things. Jeez. You're never going to see this." And then this with his I'm not even going to call her his master. I'm just going to say just the Jedi who the apprentice who spoke to him and taught him a few things. I don't think we're ever going to see the light of that footage is ever going to see the light of day. And
I mean,
Yeah.
it opens up the possibility to do something called the Jedi Archives on Disney Plus, which would make people want to subscribe more because you can't get this content on the internet or on
Yeah.
DVD or on Blu-ray, 4K, or at the theaters.
Yeah.
And just have like, here's Phantom Menace stuff no one's ever seen. And like Colin mentioned, the completed pod race footage that it's all animated and stuff. It's like, let's check it out and let's narrate it. Let's have interviews with people that are still alive that can talk about it.
Who was the alien species, the little guy? Who his whole family was there watching the pod racing.
Yes. Yeah. No,
He had just
I
had
know
a
you're talking-
baby, and
Yeah.
it was a whole thing. And I even think, if I'm not mistaken,
his family's holding the baby. They're like playing with pod racer toys, and they go through all the racers. It's so funny.
Yeah,
It's so George Lucas, and they just cut it out, and I was like, dang.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny. But yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with this deleted scene if we ever get it. But overall, I think Skeleton Crew was great. I think I think it was a great show. I enjoyed it. I might actually watch it again because my wife hasn't seen it. She wanted to wait until to binge watch it. So I might watch it with her. And but yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yep. Here's season 2. And speaking of, John himself is actually going to be at MegaCon. It was announced yesterday that he was going to be there. So that's pretty cool.
Are you going to meet him, Colin?
You got to go meet him?
David, the question is, are we going to meet him?
I think the answer is yes. We are going to meet Jude Law at MegaCon. But he's only going to be there for one day, and his prices are very, very cheap for his autograph and photo op.
What day? Is it Friday or
Saturday?
Ooh, that is going to be the busiest day of the con. I cannot stress enough. If you've never been to MegaCon, bro, oof, it is a busy con. And I thought Dragon Con was nuts. So yeah.
Yeah, everyone was flipping out yesterday that Jude Law is going to be there, and it's yeah, man. I don't know if we're gonna have to. I mean, to get in his line,
that's like your whole Saturday is waiting to meet Jude Law.
I don't know.
There's
maybe we won't meet him.
Yeah, well, so Bryce Dallas Howard and Ron Howard are both going to be there too, which they never do conventions really. So I was shocked by that. I was like, whoa. So yeah,
Bryce has done a couple, but they've been all like very like obscure. Like New Hampshire Comic-Con or something.
Yeah,
but yeah, I want to meet her for sure.
Well, good for her. Maybe they need a couple of extra bucks. You never know. But that's really cool though. I'm happy for y'all that y'all are going to be able to go and see them and everything.
Yeah,
I'll be here sad. But
well, I mean, you're going to Celebration in a couple of months, so
I am. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
and then hopefully SpaceCon Part 2, and then LA Comic Con would also be really cool.
Yeah, which there's no formal announcement yet for SpaceCon, but we're thinking it's going to happen.
Yeah,
sometime maybe. Speculation is like a beginning of, or maybe at the end of spring, so it's not too severely hot.
Yeah.
So
it was October and it was hot. What are you talking about? It was
severe.
Yeah, true.
Superhero Comic-Con was severely hot, and I was just like thinking about all the stars that showed up, like Simu Liu from Canada. He commented on it. He was like, "This is just unbearable, just walking from my car to the convention center." Yeah, it can get disgustingly hot with the humidity and the heat bouncing off the pavement. Yeah.
So yeah, in a couple of weeks, Colin and David will have a picture with the great Jude Law. So that's exciting. I'm happy for y'all. And so that's good news for MegaCon. And look for that coverage. They're going to be there. They'll be posting videos, and hopefully y'all are get a podcast while you're there. Get some news out and hang out with Legion Sabers.
Yep.
And that's so cool. Legion Sabers are awesome. But yeah. What else you got?
Good. That is it for this episode of the Star Stuff Podcast. And unless you guys got anything else that you want to mention.
No,
I am going to be doing my review for Star Wars Outlaws. I'll probably do it tomorrow before I go to work, but stay tuned for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll release that right away. So, for James, Colin, my name's David. May the force be with you.
always.
Always.